I always believed I was stronger than time. It's a dangerous belief, a foolish belief, but it carried me through most of my life. I was 73 and still lifting weights, still jogging, still pushing myself the way I did in my 50s. Maybe that should have been a warning right there. Any man who tries to turn back the clock eventually learns the clock always wins. But I convinced myself I was different. Exceptional. Built tougher than the men who slowed down as they aged. I wasn't ready to be old, so I behaved like I wasn't. The truth is, I liked the admiration. I liked the way younger men at the gym glanced at me with surprise when they saw me deadlifting or benching heavier than they expected. It fed something inside me, a fear of fading, of becoming invisible, of becoming just another old man with weak knees and careful steps. I didn't want care. I wanted respect, and respect, I thought, came from pretending I was still unbreakable. The signs came slowly, quietly, the way most warnings do. A tightness in my chest I blamed on exertion. A shortness of breath I blamed on dust. A burning sensation running down my left arm I blamed on sleeping wrong. There's always something to blame when you don't want the truth. My wife Laura noticed before I did. She'd watch me rub my chest after climbing the stairs and ask Carl, "Are you sure you're okay?" I'd wave her away, always with a smile, always with a joke. "Just getting old," I'd say. She never laughed. She wasn't amused. Her eyes carried concern that I pretended not to see. One morning I woke with a crushing pressure in my chest. Not enough to scare me, but enough to sit me up in bed. Laura placed her hand on my back and whispered, "Please, Carl, get checked." But pride answers faster than caution. "It's just heartburn," I told her, even though deep down something felt wrong. Not dangerous, just wrong. But when you've built your life on being strong, admitting weakness feels like betrayal. The gym became my escape. The place where I could pretend nothing was changing. I'd lift too heavy, sweat too much, breathe too hard, and when I felt that pinch in my chest, that flutter of my heartbeat stuttering out of rhythm, I pushed through it. Pain meant effort. Effort meant strength. Strength meant I was still me. I didn't understand the difference between muscle pain and heart warning. Or maybe I did and I ignored it. 6 months before the heart attack, I was on the gym floor finishing a set of bench press. The bar felt heavier than usual. The air felt thinner. When I racked the weight and sat up, the world tilted. Not a spin, more like a slow sway, the way a boat rocks before a storm. My chest tightened sharply like an invisible band squeezing inward. For a moment I couldn't breathe. Not well, not deeply, just thin, shallow breaths. A young man nearby asked if I was all right. I lied. I always lied. I told him I was fine, just tired, but inside panic flickered like a weak flame. I walked to the locker room, slowly waited until my vision steadied, splashed cold water on my face. When I got home, Laura took one look at me, saw the paleness, the sweat, the trembling in my hands. "Carl," she whispered, "something happened." I kissed her cheek and told her not to worry. The body always knows the truth before the mind admits it. Every night I felt the heaviness growing. Every morning I felt more tired. Climbing stairs became harder. Not impossible, just harder. My heart would pound louder than my footsteps. Sometimes I'd wake up breathless, chest aching, convinced the dream I had was still squeezing me. But I never sought help. The heart attack came on a Tuesday. Ordinary, quiet, uneventful. I went to the gym like I always did my warm-up, lifted my weights, pushed myself because pushing myself was the only way I knew how to exist. I was doing shoulder presses when it hit me, sudden, sharp, overwhelming. Not the tightness I'd felt before, not the pressure. This was different. This was a fist closing around my heart and squeezing with a strength I didn't know pain could have. My vision exploded with white spots. My breath caught mid-inhale. The dumbbells fell from my hands and crashed onto the mat. I grabbed my chest, not because I decided to, but because my body forced me to. I felt heat rising in my neck. I felt sweat that wasn't from exertion. I felt terror, pure cold terror, that sliced through every excuse I'd made for months. The floor rushed toward me. Someone yelled my name. Someone else called 911. I heard voices echoing like they were underwater. A woman's voice saying, "Stay with us." A man shouting for aspirin. Hands on my chest, hands on my face. The world fading in and out like a flickering bulb. The only clear moment was when I thought of Laura. Not a long memory, not a flood of images. Just her face, the way she looked at me when she told me to see a doctor. And the worst part wasn't the pain. It was the realization she was right. I knew it. And I ignored her. When I woke in the ambulance, the paramedic asked if I could speak. I tried. Nothing came out. My throat was dry. My chest burned. He pressed oxygen over my mouth and nose, and I heard him say, "Massive heart attack. Possibly prolonged." Prolonged. That word hit harder than the pain. It meant this didn't come out of nowhere. It meant the warnings were there. It meant I let this happen. At the hospital, Laura was waiting. She had tears on her cheeks, lines etched deeper than I remembered. She grabbed my hand and whispered, "Why didn't you tell me I didn't have an answer?" All I could do was squeeze her fingers weakly. The doctor came later, serious, calm, practiced. "Mr. Carl, your arteries were severely blocked. This didn't start today. This started years ago. Years of signs, years of denial. Years of pushing myself for pride instead of preserving myself for the woman who loved me. He told me I was lucky to be alive. Lucky." Funny how that word feels like punishment when you realize luck is the only reason your mistakes didn't kill you. Recovery wasn't heroic. It was humiliating. I couldn't walk without help. Couldn't shower alone. Couldn't climb stairs. The man who bench-pressed heavy weights now struggled to lift his own legs into bed. The man who thought he was younger than 73 suddenly felt older than 90. Laura never said "I told you so." She never scolded. She just stayed beside me, holding my hand, watching me breathe, like she was afraid to lose the rhythm. Every day she reminded me to take my medication, to rest, to slow down. And every day I realized how much I'd risked losing simply because I refused to listen. If someone were listening to me now, someone still convinced they're strong enough to ignore the warnings, I'd tell them this: strength isn't pushing through pain. Strength is admitting when something is wrong. Strength is listening to the people who love you. Strength is choosing to live instead of pretending you're unbreakable. I wasn't strong. I was stubborn. And stubborn nearly killed me. If I could go back, I'd trade every rep, every weight, every moment of pride for one honest conversation with my wife. I'd tell her I was scared. I'd walk into the doctor's office the second I felt that first tightness. I'd choose her over my ego. I'd choose my life over my image. But I can't go back. I can only lie here now, listening to the steady beep of the heart monitor, wishing I had listened to the heartbeat inside me earlier.